my Criterion collection was a little bit sad. It was a little bit small, especially when you compare it to my other collections from major Blu-ray physical media companies. But I don't think it is anymore because there has recently been a quite long, by the seams of it, I guess, um, sale on Criterion releases. Of course, we in the UK don't get all of Criterion's releases. We only get a selected few. Of course, that's down to licensing issues, international licensing issues, because of course Criterion are a US based Blu-ray company. But thankfully, we do get quite a good portion of them for UK players, for UK releases. Never seemingly actually sometimes the ones I want, because I see new releases come out from Criterion, get excited about those only to realise that they are not going to be released in Britain, which always upsets me because I don't like that. Because I, of course, am a lover and a collector of physical media. Welcome back to Morgan's movie collection. This is boosting my Criterion collection, my own personal Criterion collection. I'm splitting this into two videos because there's 10 total movies that I did buy in this recent sale. Like I said, or this seemed like there was a recent sale. There was a lot of reductions in the shops that I go to buy Criterion movies online as well. There seemed to be reductions on, sometimes quite significant reductions on Criterion movies. But we have 5 of the 10 that I did buy today. Let's just start right on into it with number 18 in the Criterion collection, Sam Fuller's The Naked Kiss, which goes alongside, actually, I'll bring this up now, number 19, Sam Fuller's Shock Corridor. The Naked Kiss is from 1964, Shock Corridor from 1963, and me being me knows Sam Fuller's name from various kind of noir movies, various kind of seedy movies. Not in that sense, but movies about shady characters, movies like Scandal Sheet and things like that. Um, More of a noir sense, definitely more of a noir sense, and certainly falling in the cycle and the years of the noir cycle. These two fall out of that. They are early 60s movies. They are incredibly socially conscious movies. I mean, pulpy, definitely pulpy, because I've watched, I should bring this up as well. I have watched a few of these releases since buying them, because it was quite a while ago that I actually bought them by the time I'm coming around to filming these videos. So I did see The Naked Kiss. The Naked Kiss is a prostitute, a former prostitute, kind of trying to reinvent herself almost in a new small town, but her almost her past coming back to haunt her in a way. There's Yes, it's, I mean, I'll read the back. It's basically a kind of, I'm not going to say hallucination because that would be wrong. It's a socially conscious movie. It's the kind of movie you still don't get major studios making in the 60s, although it's really interesting from a point of knowing where Hollywood is going within the 60s with the kind of more lenient censorship that obviously went away by the end of the decade. But to have a movie like this, to have such a frank movie like this, such a real kind of horrible at times movie like this, it deals with like sexual abuse. It deals with child sexual abuse at times as well. It feels like it would be a heavy movie talking about those subjects, but it's pulpy. So it's almost half exploitation, but I think that would be diminishing the quality of this movie and diminishing the intelligence of this movie. I really like The Naked Kiss. I mean, what it comes with, I'll try and not waffle on too much, as I often tend to about too many of these, because we have got 5 to get into today. But it does come with an interview with the star Constance Towers of this movie. It comes with excerpts from a 1983 episode of the South Bank show dedicated to Sam Fuller, the director. I mean, Sam Fuller's a ridiculously prolific writer, director, producer, all these kind of things. You get an interview with Sam Fuller from 1967, an interview with Sam Fuller from 1987, the original theatrical trailer, and a booklet with essays and excerpts and reviews and that sort of stuff. There's the booklet in there, The Naked Kiss. A lot of these were on my wish list, my Criterion wish list for quite a while as well. But Sam Fuller's The Naked Kiss, yes, I don't tend to watch too many movies that are of quite this frankness, I suppose. Although very worthwhile, very, very worthwhile. Certainly unlike any 60s movie I've seen before. As really was Shock Corridor. Now, this was a really very interesting movie to me because it is a news reporter or a newspaper reporter going or administering himself into a mental institution, but then, for the story, but then kind of becoming a little bit insane himself with the ailment that he actually falsely put himself in there for in the first place. Again, it's a very, very interesting movie. I mean, this one deals with, it's got racial issues in there. It's obviously got kind of mental illness issues in there. Again, it's pulpy. Again, it's almost half exploitation, but I think to call it a full exploitation will be to diminish the intelligence of what the movie's trying to say and what the movie's trying to be about. It's a really well acted movie. As far as special features is concerned, this one comes again with an interview with Constance Towers, who is the female lead in this movie. Peter Breck is our lead in this movie. He's really, really good in this. He really does kind of get a little bit, that kind of unhinged intensity sometimes when he needs to. I would almost say it's similar to something like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in terms of somebody getting themselves into that kind of institution when they shouldn't really be in there. And how, how he as a protagonist kind of deals with the other people that are in there who are obviously legitimately ill. It's very, very interesting. I would say I probably preferred this movie to The Naked Kiss, to be honest with you, but they're both really great. They're both really, really great. You also get in this a documentary about Sam Fuller. You get the original trailer, and you get a full booklet as well, and there is the full booklet. Shock Corridor from 1963. They are the two Sam Fuller ones. We also have something far more in line with what people have come to know me to enjoy. Gilda, which is a movie I've wanted to watch, I've wanted to own this version of for so long. 1946's Gilda with Rita Hayworth and Glenn Ford and what is his name, who plays the villain of this movie? I have forgotten. George Macready. George Macready. What a wonderful movie Gilda is. I think it was probably something a little bit different to what I thought it was going to be. And Rita Hayworth is certainly not, or Rita Hayworth's Gilda is certainly not the typical femme fatale many would have you believe who perhaps haven't seen the movie. And this was my first time watching it when I bought this. She's far more interesting than just that. She's far more layered than just that. And her and Glenn Ford obviously have a great dynamic together on screen. I love them too. I do really like Glenn Ford. I think this is just a wonderful, wonderful noir movie. You can see why it's such a star-making role. You can see why it's such an iconic movie. It's a wonderful, wonderful, almost early noir, but it's so dark. There's very, very sinister, manipulative layers to it. There's almost power layers to it. It's a movie about kind of perverse power. It's really very interesting. I think it's more interesting than I maybe viewed it as, having not seen it, from the outside. I really, really loved this. As I hoped I would, and as people probably assumed I would. But with this one, you get an audio commentary with Richard Schickel. You get a new interview with Eddie Muller. You get a piece from 2010 featuring Scorsese and Baz Luhrmann, discussing their appreciation for Gilda. You get a 1964 episode of Hollywood and the Stars on the Odyssey of Rita Hayworth. You get the trailer for the movie, and you get an essay in this nice book here, which isn't actually a book at all, is it? Because I remember what this is now. It's a really fancy looking poster that, of course, will be going up somewhere at some point. Because why would something like that not? Gilda, 1946. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Number 795 in the Criterion collection. We also have a movie that I haven't actually seen yet, which is 819 in the collection. Here Comes Mr. Jordan, with Claude Rains and who else is in it? Robert Montgomery. Which sounds like a really interesting movie. I mean, half supernatural, half kind of dark, almost mortality tale. I'll read the back. It says, a sophisticated supernatural Hollywood comedy whose influence continues to be felt. Here Comes Mr. Jordan stars the eminently versatile Robert Montgomery as a working-class boxer and amateur aviator whose plane crashes in a freak accident. He finds himself in heaven, but is told by Mr. Jordan, played by Claude Rains, who's playing an angel, that his death was a clerical error, and that he can return to Earth by entering the body of a corrupt financier, whose soul could use a transplant. So yeah, it sounds very, very interesting. It sounds quite unlike a lot of comedies of the time. This is 1941, so you might be thinking more screwball-related comedies, but supernatural comedies about death and almost second chances, but then taking down corrupt officials and things like that. It almost sounds like something that would have come out 10 years earlier. It almost sounds like a pre-code movie. Maybe I'm just focusing on Death Takes a Holiday too much, I don't know. But it sounds very, very interesting. Alexander Hall directed. With this one, it's a 2K restoration. You get a conversation between a critic, Michael Sragow, and filmmaker Michael Schlesinger. You get a 1991 interview with Elizabeth Montgomery discussing her father, Robert. You get the Lux Radio Theatre adaptation of this movie, which starred Cary Grant, as well as Claude Rains again, Evelyn Keyes, and James Gleeson. You get the trailer, and you get an essay by Farron Smith Name, who is great. There is the essay. I don't think this one is a poster. No, it's not really. It's just the essay. But I haven't seen this one yet. I haven't actually put the, spent the time to watch that one yet. And I really should, because maybe sometimes I'm just too in the mood for dark movies, too in the mood for twisted movies, and obviously noirish movies, that I don't watch lighter fare like that. I don't know why. Clearly I wanted it because I bought it, so I don't know. Lastly today, we have, again, a movie that I just have wanted to own and watch for ages, but haven't actually put it on yet. Mainly because this boosts my Sidney Poitier collection as much as it boosts my Criterion collection, and I, of course, love Sidney Poitier. We, of course, love Sidney Poitier on It's a Wonderful Podcast. Go and check out all those episodes of It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show, on all your major podcast platforms, where we talk about various Sidney Poitier movies. This is A Raisin in the Sun, 1961, which is, of course, the Poitier and Ruby Dee and their family living in a tiny little Chicago apartment, and their dreams of making something of themselves. We're, of course, dealing with racial issues in early 60s America, because this is Poitier, but this is a movie that is going to, I think, move me a great deal when I do finally watch it, because I know the kind of movie it is. I know basically what it's about, and I know the kind of people that are in it, and I know what Poitier is able to do given this type of subject matter. A Raisin in the Sun was the first play by a black woman to be performed on Broadway. 2 years later, the production came to the screen, directed by Daniel Petrie. The original stars, including Sidney Poitier and Ruby Dee, reprised their roles. And yes, the Youngers, which is their name, await a life insurance check they hope will change their circumstances, but tensions arise over how to use the money. Vividly rendering Lorraine Hansberry's sharp observations on generational conflict and housing discrimination, Petrie's film captures the high-stakes shifting currents and varieties of experience within black life in mid-century America. Yes, we're into this. We're aware that this is a heavier movie. We're aware that this is a very, very high drama. But it's Poitier. It's one of Poitier's most famous movies, and I adore him as an actor. And Ruby Dee's no slouch either. With this one, you get, it's a 4K digital transfer. You get a 1961 interview with Lorraine Hansberry, the playwright of the original play. You get a new interview with Imani Perry, author of Looking for Lorraine. You get an episode of Theatre Talk featuring producer Philip Rose and Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis. You get an excerpt from Black Theatre, The Making of a Movement, 1978, with a new introduction by director Woody King Jr. You get an interview with film scholar Mia Mask, co-editor of Poitier Revisited. You get a 2002 interview with the director Daniel Petrie. You get the trailer, and you get an essay by Sarita Cannon and author James Baldwin's 1969 tribute to Lorraine Hansberry. Quite a lot of features with A Raisin in the Sun. I like that. I like that. There you go. There is the inside. There are the first 5. That's number 945, by the way, in the Criterion collection. They are the first 5. That is the first video in this boost to my own personal Criterion collection that has changed it from a sad, pitiful little few movies into what looks something more rounded and something more equal to my other physical media Blu-ray company collections. But there we go. Stay tuned, keep a lookout for the next video. It will be in a few days' time, but it will be this week. It will definitely be this week. Don't you worry about that. Thank you for watching this. Subscribe, ding the notification bell on this YouTube channel for more rambly little showcases of Morgan's movie collection, as well as all the other great stuff we have here. And of course, subscribe to the main It's a Wonderful podcast feed on all your major podcast platforms for Monday Madness, Morgan Hasn't Seen, and It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show, where we do celebrate old movies like this every single week. Find all that. Find the social media down below, the Patreon, the donation, all that kind of stuff can be found in the description. And let me know what you think of these movies, of these releases. Do you like me? And do you like me? Do you like me? I don't know. Do you like hearing me waffle on about my Blu-rays? I'm not sure if I do. I'm not sure if I enjoy hearing the sound of my own voice or not. I don't know, maybe that's something I have to think about. But thank you again for watching this Morgan's Movie Collection video, and until next time, bye.